Welcome to Everyday Martial Artist, a weekly podcast where you'll join me, Brian Doucette, as I interview a different martial artist each episode and hear their story. Some guests you may have heard of, and some you probably haven't. Be sure to subscribe where all your favorite podcasts are available. Also visit our website at everydaymartialartist.com. If you're listening for a specific interview, I sure hope you'll stay and check out the other episodes. A very special thank you to Topher Williams for our custom theme music. And now, the newest episode of Everyday Martial Artist. Everyday Martial Artist is brought to you by KOOnline.com for all your martial arts needs. Sparring and safety gear, rank belts, uniforms, weapons, patches, and more. Wholesale supplies made by martial artists for martial artists. Visit us today at ko-online.com. Hello and welcome to Everyday Martial Artist. I'm your host, Brian Doucette, and as we do every week, we're joined by a brand new guest talking about their life and their journey throughout the world of martial arts. My guest today was born and raised in Annapolis, Maryland. He's a martial artist, actor, and a podcaster. When he was younger, he was involved in baseball, tennis, and lacrosse before finding martial arts. He earned his black belt in 2004 and currently holds a second degree. When not training, he hosts a podcast called The Kim Hoang Experience and has also acted in film, some of which were Roulette, Tales of the Fixer, Senior Cut Day, and the upcoming films Miscalculated and Stones. Welcome my guest today, Mr. Kim Hoang. How are you doing today, sir?
Hello, sir. It's a pleasure to be here. Wow. That was a great intro. I almost feel Oscar worthy here.
And the award goes to. Hey, maybe someday you stick with the acting. You never know.
Yeah, the sky's the limit. That's definitely for sure.
Cool. Well, what we like to do with all my guests, I want to go back to the beginning and find out what led to that first interest. Where did that first spark about martial arts come from?
Well, being born and raised in Annapolis, Maryland, when you're, a young kid, most of the things that you normally do at a young age is that you're either in school, you're watching television, or you're watching movies. And I do believe that the first spark of motivation of wanting to learn the martial arts, I believe that it was The Karate Kid.
Nice.
And I was watching that with a friend of mine who at the time, I didn't even know that, he took martial arts and karate, and I didn't even know that his dad was involved in it. So, we're just looking at the movie, we're trying to copy all this stuff and so forth. And next thing you know, it's just like I keep on watching other things like Bruce Lee movies and the Ninja Turtles that It just kind of clicked. Like, maybe this is the calling that I am going to do martial arts. I'm also already doing other things. Why not do something a little bit more challenging and somewhat more therapeutic for the human mind, body, and soul?
So how old were you then when you first walked into a martial arts school, and how did you choose it?
Oh, geez. I will explain it in this because there were definitely a lot of parts of my martial arts life.
Okay.
My first time actually stepping into a martial arts school was probably, I think I was maybe 8 years old, I think.
Okay.
And that was because I used to get bullied a lot when I was a kid.
Okay.
And, I didn't even know what to do. When it comes to like a 4-on-1 situation, the odds weren't in my favor.
Mm-hmm.
And the said friend that I told you about that we watched a lot of martial arts films and the Karate Kid together, he actually saved me. Like, he actually beat these bullies up and I didn't even know what in the world was going on. I was just like, what is he doing? What is all this stuff? And, is this something that he learned from television, because that was the only point of reference that I knew.
Mm-hmm.
And, when his dad actually saw what happened and he asked questions, my friend was just like, Dad, Kim got beat up again and this is not cool. He's my best friend. We got to do something. So after his father and my mom talked about it, next thing you know, I was told to get dressed, dress comfortably, and I was just wearing maybe a t-shirt and some sweatpants, and we're going somewhere. And I'm going with my friend and his father. I'm like, oh, where are we going? I mean, are we going to get some ice cream? And they were just like, no, you'll find out. We're actually not going far. And next thing you know, I'm going over to the shopping center and we're going into a building. And I see all these people, Kid Logic, you're seeing all these people wearing white pajamas, doing some stuff. And I'm just like, what is this? And then my friend's like, oh, you didn't know? I actually do take karate. And my dad, he's the instructor. This is his school. And I'm just like, what? And it just kind of, it just, after that, it was just like, all right, this is, I guess this is the beginning of, for the rest of my life.
What style was that?
It is, the Mudaquan style of Taekwondo.
Okay. So just the one style your whole life. You pretty much found it and stuck with it.
Well, I would say this. That is like the base. That will probably be about like, I think 80% of what I've done.
Okay.
And I still am sticking with it. I've done other things in my life, like, when I was like in high school, like I joined a kickboxing school where they taught like Muay Thai. Oh. When I actually got into community college, I took a little bit of karate course over at the junior college, and they were offering Shoin-ryu karate. And I just took that as like, well, I am going to take it for the fact that it's a PE elective and I have martial arts experience. So, I mean, it should be easily translatable.
Okay, cool. I definitely want to get into those. I want to back up a little bit. So you're 8 years old, you go into the school. So what was it about it once you were there that made you want to stay and stick with it?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I came in spurts where, like, I trained and I stopped. I trained and I stopped.
Okay.
And finally, as an adult, I just went full bore. And any martial artist that has been through that kind of process, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I just felt like, okay, it's the only karate school that I knew that was, near my area of where I lived in Annapolis. I come to find out that, again, my best friend and his father are like, they train there. His father's the chief instructor and the owner of the school. And my cousin at the time, who was like an older brother, was training there. And he was, I think at the time when I saw him train, he was like a brown belt. I was just like, wow, like, I was kind of hooked. Like I automatically thought like, wow, this is the karate school. This is awesome. This is probably like the best karate school ever. And again, at the time at 8 years old logic, you don't really know too much about it. You're just thinking, you're thinking in the box. You're not thinking outside the box. Right. You don't know that there's a other, world and plethora of other martial arts schools all around the area and so forth. You're just thinking that's the one.
Nice. And so at that young age, what are some things you remember just about some of the classes, some of the things you worked on when you first started, maybe those first few months, and what stood out about the instructor himself?
I remember when I first started, it was all about, getting the stances right. And actually learning how to walk in like in a front stance, or to be technical to all those that know Taekwondo and Korean terminology, walking in a chungal jase. Okay. And then, to make sure that, okay, you actually, put your feet together, you step out, step in, step out, make sure that, you have a wide base, that your legs are spread apart, not too far apart now, but far apart enough that, you have a good solid foundation. And also learning about, certain things about like being in the horse stance and the punching combinations. And then once I actually became a white belt, I was like, okay, now we're starting to piece the, the puzzle together bit by bit. All the instructors at that time when I was 8 years old, they were really nice to me. They always were very loving and they were very caring, and they always cared about, the students, because, it's true what they say in the martial arts that, everyone is a family, no matter who you are, no matter what you are, no matter what, race or orientation or where you come from in life. Everyone is family because, love is love. We want to support each other in a very good, positive and healthy way. And I always looked at, everybody like, that's a brother to me, or that's a sister to me. And I remember my main instructor, who is still my instructor to this day, was like, he was like the father. Whenever you came over to his house and you trained, he considered you like, you are my kids and I'm responsible for your upbringing and to raise you the right way in the martial arts. And that to me, I felt like, wow, now I have a family within a family that's not really my biological family. And it was amazing. It was all that I wanted and more at that time.
Very cool. And then, so what age and when did you get to black belt? And did you get into black belt while, before you turned into an adult, or did you?
No.
Okay.
like I said, I started when I was 8, and then I just kind of quit because obviously, I wanted to do kid things. I got back into it just for the fact that bullying issue happened again.
Okay.
So I wanted to go ahead and go back, and I think I forgot everything, and I didn't even keep my old green belt at the time, so I had to start over.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I picked it up really quick, and at that time I was a little bit more mobile because, I just started walking from my house to the school every day for 6 days a week, and just attending all the classes I could. So
Nice.
it was a mission. It was a mission. But to answer your question, I didn't get my black belt until I want to say 2004.
Okay.
So I want to say that I was in my early 20s when I got it.
Okay. So at that young age, then you said you got to the green belt the first time and then went back. Did you ever get into the competition aspect of it?
I didn't get into the competition aspect of it until the second, I'll call it the second run around.
Okay.
Just because I didn't know what tournaments were, when I first trained, when they were saying tournament, I was just thinking, okay, I'm not sure what you mean. And then when I go to the school and I find out they're closed and they have a sign said, closed because we are going over to here for tournament competition. So, when I heard about tournament, the second time that I was training, I was like, okay, this is, interesting. And it's funny because I got my best friend over in middle school. He was at another school in Annapolis, Maryland, another karate school. And he was talking about, that he was going to go to this tournament. And I just said, yeah, well, I'm going to go to this tournament too. And, we're trying to, trash talk each other. You know what I mean? Like if it was like a UFC fight. Yeah. But, we're kids. We don't know anything. But, he said that he was going to be there. And I said, yeah, I'll be there. And I found out that it was literally over at a high school not far from where we lived. Maybe it was 10 minutes away. Okay. And then when I told my school about this, a lot of the other, students that were around my age, they're like, what? You're going? All right, cool. We'll compete too. We got nothing to do. And it was great. First time competing, I was a green belt again. And I was doing forms and I was doing sparring. Didn't place in forms, but I didn't expect too much in that sense. I was like, all right, well, forms weren't at the time not my best thing. I mean, I liked it, but it wasn't my specialty. Right. And then sparring, I actually got to spar said friend from middle school. Oh, wow. And I actually won that, surprisingly. I don't know how I did. Shout out to Curtis Bland. Love you, brother. And, nice. I actually got beat by somebody that he knew that obviously had more experience. And it was the rude awakening, but it was good because that just taught me that, you can't win in everything. There's always going to be somebody that's better than you, and there's always room for improvement. But to go home that day with a second place trophy, I felt like I was on top of the world. Like I won like the $1 million lottery. Nice.
So now I did my first style when I was 10 was Muda Kwan Tong Sudo. So I don't know how I've never been to a Muda Kwan Taekwondo school, so I don't know how similar. My Taekwondo school over the years was it started as Songmu Kwan and then changed to Chongmu Kwan. So I'm just curious, like what were some of the sparring rules at that age? Do you remember like what some of the rules were, what you could and couldn't do? I'm just curious how similar it was.
Basically, it was just like, the basic rules that, all the contact, you want to hit somewhere, it's got to be above the belt. You couldn't punch to the, obviously you couldn't punch to the face. Right. I think at the child level, I think that depending on the tournament that you went to, kicking to the head wasn't allowed. Okay. But there were some tournaments that I heard that, if you did kick to the head, that was like a point. And depending on that tournament, it could have been either like 1 point or 2. Right. But I just prepared myself knowing that, okay, I probably might get kicked in the head, so I might want to keep that arm up just so I'm not going to go ahead and have that to be like the visible open target.
Okay. What patterns did you guys do?
Well, I'll give you like a couple of like forms. Like I'll name a couple of them. Like the basic ones are like, keep on or keep on 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
And then you got your pinon forms. Then you got your Nanji forms or Naihanchi, depending on, what system that you go through.
Mm-hmm.
What else did I do? Jintei, bi-side eye. Depending on, again, the system that you go to. We call it low high, but some people call it row high.
Okay.
And then, black belt forms like, Jion, Gunsengun, Jinto, just to name a few.
Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely. Because we do primarily the Palge forms for our school. And I know a lot of our schools that are associated with us switch to the Taeguk, which I'm not a fan of. And I'm glad our school did not switch to those. So. And I was never a fan of forms anyway. So that was always my least favorite of everything we did.
I just say I have to give respect to, the forms and just in martial arts in general, just because, it looks a little bit like, awkward or something like that. Doesn't mean that it's not effective in its own way.
Right.
Oh,
yeah,
it's
definitely.
just because I always believe that it's the art that makes it happen, and it's the martial artist behind that art that makes it happen. So, if you do, like, let's say a Taeguk form and it looks awful, okay, that might be just that person that's doing that form. There could be another person that does it, the right way, correctly, and, makes it look so sharp that you're just like, oh, that's how it is. So
exactly.
I always try to give a lot of respect and acknowledgement to, all the martial arts forms and all the martial arts in general, because, it is what keeps us going. It is what keeps us alive, and it's what keeps us here.
Nice. All right. So then you move on, you get up to high school, and you decide. What made you decide to go look for, did you go look for a kickboxing school, or did you just want to look for something different?
Okay, so in high school at that time, like, obviously I'd quit my primary karate school because I moved away. I went from Annapolis, Maryland to Silver Spring, Maryland.
Okay.
And Silver Spring, Maryland is about, depending on where in Washington, D.C., it's about like maybe 15 minutes away from Washington, D.C.
Okay.
My friend that I had, his name is Joe. We were all about, at the time, the UFC finally came out.
Nice.
And, we seeing the old days of like, Hoist Gracie and Ken Shamrock and, Kimo Leopoldo and those guys. And, my friend, he actually had a car and he drove and I didn't. So I was at a disadvantage. Mm-hmm. And, I would always ask him like, hey, do you want to hang out today? And he was like, oh, I can't hang out after school, man. I've actually signed up to do some kickboxing. And I was just like, what? Yeah, I'm doing kickboxing now. I'm training in kickboxing. It's the style from Thailand, the Muay Thai style. And I do that, every so often. And yeah, it's great. And I said to him one time, I said, hey, do you mind if I actually ride with you and check this out? And he's like, yeah, sure. You're about like 5 minutes away from me. I mean, I can just drop you back. It's no problem. Nice. So I go over there, and we go over to this gym in Gaithersburg, Maryland. And it was at the time, well, it's closed now, but it was called Steve's Gym. And it was a kickboxing gym. They were teaching like a traditional American style kickboxing, like the type of kickboxing like Benny the Jet Urquidez would do back in the day. Yep. And then, Muay Thai kickboxing. And I went there, and it was pretty cool. It was really, I would just say like it was very rustic. Mm-hmm. I mean, there wasn't like a lot of like modernized new equipment. It was just like, there was an old ring that had ropes with like, literally like electrician's tape tied around, around the ropes. There was like duct tape holding like the punching bag and so forth. Mm-hmm. And there was just something about it. I was like, man, this is really cool. I really want to try this out. So I talked to, one of the head trainers, and he said, yeah, man, you should try it out. What's your background? And I said, well, I mean, I've done karate / taekwondo for many years. Oh, okay. Well, you have a good sense of at least, some kind of kicking. Muay Thai is a little bit different, but if you're willing to, try it out, you're more than welcome to. So I did the trial classes. It was like you did like maybe 3 free trial classes, and then you decide whether or not if it's for you. And then I just said, yeah, I'm in. I think it's really cool. Plus, I have, my friend Joe's out here doing his thing here, and so let's do it. And I think I probably trained in Muay Thai for on and off for about like year and a half.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Well, it's just because at the time, I didn't really find any martial arts schools or karate schools or taekwondo schools that was like the one that I trained in. And at the time, I didn't know that there was. I just didn't know about them or where they were located.
Okay.
So I made the switch of trying to do something else, try to go ahead and transition from like one style to another just to, keep active at the time.
For our young listeners out there was no Google back then, so we had no way of finding those schools other than the yellow pages. The yellow pages,
yeah, the good old Verizon yellow pages, and
nice.
And just, you went into the cave for karate, and then, there was like a listing, and, you saw ones that had like a full page ad with a real cool, like advertisement with pictures, and just some that were just like, wow, I might need a magnifying glass to read that number.
Yep. So did you ever do any kickboxing competition?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I just wanted, honestly, I just wanted to just do something just for the heck of it.
Okay.
Obviously, we had sparring in, classes, and that was kind of cool.
Okay.
But at the time, I didn't have any aspiration to be like a kickboxer, to, actually either be like at the WKA or PKA, or even train for like at the time it was like a K1 kickboxing in Japan. That wasn't my aspiration.
Okay.
It was cool, and I think that was great that other people were doing it, but realistically, I was just a high school kid just wanting to, have a physical outlet and just do things and explore what was out there.
Okay. And then you went on, you said, to college, and you discovered Shorin-ryu. So you mentioned that. So that was for a credit?
That was for a credit, yeah.
Okay.
In junior college or community college, the requirement is that you had to have 1 credit for PE. For physical ed. Mm-hmm. I looked at it and I was like, oh my gosh, there's a class from martial arts 101. I'm like, this is perfect. I always said that I wanted to be training and I wanted to do something. I still wanted to keep that martial arts spirit alive. And sure enough, I actually found, that class, and it was a karate class, specifically Shorin-ryu. And that the professor that actually taught it was Sensei George Hardman. He actually, real nice guy, older gentleman, but you look at him, you're like thinking, there's no way that an older gentleman like him, that's that thin, looks like he knows something or he's going to do something. But soon enough, when he demonstrated some stuff like on the other students and showing what he knew, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to sing a new tune here. I guess, I guess the old dog does know a couple of tricks and then some. So, yeah.
How long did you end up doing that?
That was just only for like a semester.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. And that was good, and that was, and obviously I got an A in that class, mainly just because I can't, when you come in every day, I think that was the ingredient of getting a good grade,
right.
And it didn't matter to him if you were like really terrible, but it was just all about showing up and showing the effort.
Okay.
And I really appreciate Sensei Hardman for that, because, he just always told me that, Kim, you got a lot of potential, and wherever you go in life in the martial arts, I'm pretty sure that you're going to be, a good student. Just keep up that attitude and keep up, the positivity. And I'm pretty sure the doors will open for you and things will go your way. I'm like, yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Nice. So then how long was it then before you found your way back to Mudok Kwan?
I think it was back in shortly after when my mother passed away in 99.
Okay.
And, I was really sad at the time. I went back to the school. By then, I had some younger cousins, both their siblings and their sisters. Obviously they knew about it. And I came in there, crying. And of course, the one cousin actually came in and hugged me. My main instructor, took us both into his office and we talked about it. And I think if I remember correctly, I said that I wanted to go back.
Okay.
And he said, well, of course you're always welcome to come back, but, make sure that, you think about it and this is what you want. And I said, no, I think I need to be here. I think it's just time to finish what I started. At the time I was a blue belt.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to do this.
Did you go back then as a blue belt or did you start over again?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Nice.
Luckily, I found, my blue belt didn't fit, but that's okay. But I ended up going to like a neighborhood martial arts store in Washington, D.C. and I just got like a bigger size of blue belt. Like I think like that one was like maybe a 4 and I got like a size 6.
Okay.
Yeah. And, obviously I got like a uniform, and the first class back was sparring class. And that was, if you remember, going back, how my best friend, that actually watched the Karate Kid with me and saved my butt, he was a 2nd degree black belt then.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and he hadn't been training for about like 5 years. And he was like, you know what? I think we're going to need to train too. And I didn't know what was going to happen at the time, but, we went in there. Obviously, I'm out of breath. I'm winded. I've been training for a while. So then, he actually just said, you know what, just sit down for a second, relax, and, just, watch what's going on. And I see him sparring, and he's sparring his brother, his younger brother, who's also a 2nd degree black belt. And that sparring session, I don't know how long it took, but I think it was like at least 15 minutes, because you just saw them get to work and everybody's stopping and everybody's watching that fight. And we're just like, what is going on here?
Wow.
And at that point I was like, okay, I'm back home. I'm in the right place.
Nice. And then since then you haven't stopped, no turning back.
I mean, life does take over.
Yes.
I mean, but I still have kept up with, my training and so forth. And, I look at that 2nd degree black belt and I'm just reminded about, all the, hard work that came along with that since day one till now. It's been a journey. And, I can honestly say that I don't know how it is for other martial arts schools. So I don't think I'm qualified in that respect, but at least in our school, it's like, our instructor doesn't hand out black belts.
Right.
If you're not ready, you're not ready, or if you did something bad and, it's not passable, then yeah, you're going to fail because, you did it wrong, so he's a very stern person about, who actually earns the right to test for a black belt and who actually passes to get that promotion, to get promoted to that black belt. In that sense, I am very grateful because I come from a school knowing that it has a lot of tradition and discipline, and it has a lot of rules, and, it's just a good quality school.
And deep down you earned that black belt.
By heck or high water. I will say that, like, for testing for the 1st degree was already a challenge as it was, because I've seen the black belt tests, but I never really experienced it because it was my first time.
Yeah.
And being under that microscope, being tested for 1st degree black belt at that time, I literally, like, my life flashed before my eyes. Wow. And it was just so wild because, we're not even done like stretch kicking. And I'm just like, what's going on? And now we're doing all these like kicking drills. And then once that part was over, like a certain section, I could see myself just like going down, grabbing my knees with my hands, and I'm just like huffing and puffing. I'm like, I feel like, wow, am I having a cardiac arrest? What's going on?
Wow.
And then my black belt partner and good friend, Marcus, he would always whisper in my ear. He's like, do not give up. You've gone too far. I'm not quitting on you. You better not quit on me. Get up and start fighting. And I'm just like, yes, sir, I got you. And I would just get back up. I'm like, okay, I'm in the game. And then there would be that question. He's like, is anybody tired? No, sir. Does anybody want a water break? No, sir. Anybody want to quit? No, sir. All right, let's keep going.
Nice. That's cool. So at any point, did you get into the teaching side of things?
Well, I mean, I would always consider myself like, when you're a higher rank, you would always teach something or,
Right.
help, the younger students or the lower level students get the information that they need. And I've always done that throughout my time. And even as a black belt, I knew right then and there, like once I got it, I knew it was my time to give back, because when I was coming up, everybody was giving to me, everybody was taking their time out of their schedule to help me out with the things that I needed to know for my martial arts knowledge. And I, at the black belt level, I realized they did that for me. It's time for me to do the same thing, to give back.
Nice. And then did you quickly realize that how much better your own stuff came after teaching it to other people?
I think I had a better understanding, and I guess I wasn't so quick to, like, if somebody was at the time, like, looking at what I was doing, I know I would be mad easily, because, I would just go like, why are you saying that? Like, I think I did this right, blah, 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 blah. And as a black belt, you understand better, like, like, oh, well, man, did I miss that? Okay, well, I got to work on this. So you have a better understanding, a better level of maturity, and you take things better with a grain of salt. And I feel like that helped me out, so that I don't have to be so overcritical. I just, take everything with a grain of salt, listen to the advice, listen to the words of the masters and the seniors above you, because they want to see you do well. Yeah. They want to see you succeed. They want you to be better than they are. And I try to hold on to that standard as the best as I could. Am I doing it exactly the right way? That's debatable. But as long as I'm making the effort, to me, that's the start.
Nice. So when did the acting thing start for you? Were you in like theater and stuff in high school, or what, did that come later in life?
The first time that I actually saw acting was, I was a kid. I was watching NBC at night, and what got me hooked was Family Ties and Alex P. Keaton. That was my guy.
Nice.
So, I just looked at it and I was like, wait a minute, what are these guys doing? Like, what are they doing on television? And then it was explained to me that they were actors and they were portraying a role. A TV show that they're doing is like a 30-minute, sometimes depending on the show, an hour-long movie. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, you get paid to do that? That's pretty awesome. So, I went through a phase where, I wanted to check out like, a couple of theater programs and clubs in my school. Mm-hmm. And I was fortunate enough to, go ahead and to do that. That was great. I think my first time that I got a chance to really do movies, I was a movie extra for a movie called Deep Impact.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir. Okay. Yeah, that was great. That was a great time. And I didn't know that you could do it, but I heard they were just like, yeah, we're looking for people in the DC area, for 2 days being an extra. All you're doing is driving your car and you're going to get paid $500 a day. And I was like, wait, $500 a day? Oh my God. Yeah. Sign me up. I'm there. That's great. But after taxes, it was like, it was like $850 or something like that. But still, I felt like I was Scrooge McDuck from DuckTales. Like, I'm rolling in the dough and I'm that closer to building my money bin.
That's awesome. So have you ever got to show off your martial arts skills on screen?
I have, actually, for not like major motion pictures, mm-hmm. like, like Hollywood stuff. I have locally. The first time that I did that for Tales of the Fixer, where I actually played a bad guy.
Nice.
Played a guy named Zhu Nguyen, who's like his front was that he was like a man of many businesses and entrepreneurs and so forth, but he was like a real like dangerous bad guy that knew martial arts, and he meant business. And then later on, in the local movie career, I should say, I did some stuff that was martial arts, not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Senior skip day, I was able to do a couple of things that incorporated martial arts, not fully.
Okay.
So I just did basic kicks and punches and taking some falls and so forth. And that was fun, because I got a chance to really kind of let myself go, and it was great. I was like playing like a dead zombie role, but he knew what he was doing, and it was awesome. Then recently, with Miscalculated, I'm playing the role of Benny Chow. He actually knows something. He knows forms of martial arts and fighting. So you see me throwing side kicks, spinning back kicks, things like that. And according to the director, Ramel Morales, I didn't really see it because I'm just an actor living that part. So I don't really get to see the playback. But according to him, he was like really, really impressed with the entourage that I brought on that film day, because apparently there were like some actors that dropped out that were supposed to play my protection, my entourage. And the director, Ramel's like, well, they left, and it's up to you now to pick out 3 people. I'm like, you're kidding. I have to do that? So I scrambled around, and I got 3 of my, good friends from the martial arts industry, who are also like my brothers. One of them actually competes in the NASCA circuit that's over on Team Amerikick, Cameron Whittington.
Okay.
And, I got him aboard. I got my one friend, Timothy Apollo, on aboard. He's a martial artist that is a stuntman now, based out of Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
And then I had a friend of mine, Zach Knox, who is a karate teacher over in the Washington, D.C. area for a school called Kaizen Karate.
Oh, okay. So then what led to you starting a podcast? I know it's not a martial arts podcast, but you looks like, looking through your episodes, you've talked about martial arts on it a few times, but what kind of led you to get involved in podcasting?
Initially, I thought I wanted to do something, outside of my acting, because I felt like I could really hold a good conversation well. And I feel like, I can talk well, and I can just, keep it moving and so forth. And initially, I had an idea to do it back in 2018. And I talked to a friend of mine who I used to work with at the Apple store. And initially, he was on board about it because, I told him that I wanted to have like a co-host with me, and it was a great idea. So we bounced on it, and we thought it would go somewhere. But later on, I just found out that I think he just didn't want to do it. I'm not sure what the reason was. So I didn't hold it against him. So I said, all right, well, that's fine. Well, I'll just pick it up whenever, it's happening. And through that time, I took my time to actually do some research about, the cost, what's involved and so forth, because as many podcasters know, we're actually spending our own dime, investing in this project that we love. We don't have any corporate sponsorships kind of backing us up. It'd be nice if, we get like some Shure microphones here, or like a Rode, a boomstick mic holder and so forth, or just even like a brand new computer to kind of run it on the interface. But no, we are hardworking, blue collared people that love what we do, and we have to save our own money to invest to do this stuff. And then the pandemic came, and, obviously nobody was doing anything, because at the time there was nothing really open at all. And it was like almost like a literal lockdown. And I said to myself, you know what, if there's ever a time to execute the plan to do a podcast, this is it.
Yep.
And I didn't even care if I had to go super minimal. I was going to do something. So I found out, with the power of my MacBook Pro, I already had something going on there, which is great. I needed to buy, an external USB microphone. So I bought one of those El Cheapo ones over at Amazon Prime for I think it was $35 or something like that.
Okay.
And we hit the ground running. We did everything from episode 1 until, what's going on recently. So, I would say that from then to now, obviously huge differences, but I enjoy the journey. I love the idea of talking about, subject matters here and there, and talking to people who would be like my special guests and talk about their creative mediums or their passions or something like that, or just talking to people about, certain subject matters that are relevant in life. I find joy in that.
And where can people find that? I'll definitely put a link out there, but just to give people an idea where they can find that show.
Yeah, for sure. Again, for those that are interested, the whole name, and I don't mean to sound narcissistic, but I kid you not, the full name is called the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. So once again, it's called the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. We are on the following platforms. We are on Anchor. We are on Spotify. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on Google Podcasts. And most recently, we are on Amazon Music.
Okay.
Yep. And we're also on Twitter. We're also on Instagram, which is under the same screen name, which is at TKHPC Experience. No spaces, all lowercase. Follow me on Twitter and on Instagram. If you follow me, I'll make sure that, I'll follow you back.
Any upcoming episodes that you want to plug that haven't come out yet? Any interesting topics or guests coming up?
I do have some stuff that's on the pipeline.
Okay.
There's one, I basically will have like a kind of like a year in review, kind of like an episode. So I'm really looking forward to that. Another one I want to actually put out there is, although it's long overdue, and it's been like months since I rapped, I did a short movie called Scrolls of Honor. Okay. And I wanted to do an episode about like how I got wrapped with that, my experiences, what I liked about it, and so forth. I even give a couple of shout outs. And I don't know what rated that we are in this podcast, but for the protection of the ears, I interviewed an alternative model who's yes, I'm going to say it like that, an alternative model.
Okay.
She's very beautiful woman. She's a friend of mine, and I love her to death. She also did a couple of acting roles here and there. We go in that realm. We talk about, her acting and her acting ability, her alternative modeling, and how she got started with that. And all I have to say is that episode is interesting, but I can't discriminate because, modeling, no matter what form it is art. Yes. It is a creative medium, and I have to give respect where respect is due. And, art is art. And, I want to put people out there who love their art and celebrate it and do the best that they can in their art.
I will definitely put links out there and hopefully get you some more listeners. So what advice would you give someone looking to get involved in martial arts for the first time in their life? They've never done it and they just want to know a couple tips. Hey, what should I look for in a school, and maybe some things I should avoid?
I will put it in this context. So if you come to me and you say that you want to be a martial artist, the first thing I would tell you to do is that you might want to sit down and think about it, because it is a very life-changing experience. And it is a process. And it's one of those things that, it's not like a 5-minute journey and then all of a sudden like, oh, I found the answer. You know what I mean? Because it's a long journey. Mm-hmm. And if you think about it and all the questions that you ask and the answers point back to yes, then I would say, okay, then you should be a martial artist and you should really, seek it out. Now, in terms of what martial arts school to go to, I would say first find like a listing of arts that interest you. What do you like? What do you want to do? Do you want to do like, the modern kind of like Brazilian jiu-jitsu where it's like all ground stuff and you're doing, locks and manipulation and so forth? Do you want to do something traditional? Do you want to do something that's more of a, hard style like karate or taekwondo where you do a lot of kicking and a lot of punching and stance work? Or do you want something soft and fluid like kung fu? List everything that you want. And if you have more listings on that specific art, congratulations. You pick that art that might be the art of discipline that's for you. And then last but not least, look for, the local schools in your area that may teach that art, and take a look around, look at the Google reviews, because they're always good. And if there's something that, strikes you, visit that school, see what it's all about. Take a look at the class, ask to talk to the headmaster or the grandmaster of that school, get to talk to them and know what they do, what their curriculum is, how they train their students. And don't be afraid to talk to the students, ask them about their experiences in their school. If all things lead up to a positive outlook, congratulations. You found not only the art that you want to study, but the school where you want to be the student.
Nice. I know you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but what are your thoughts on MMA and the UFC?
I will say this. For what it is, MMA and the UFC, I think it's good. I think the UFC is good because they really started the trend of, mixed martial arts in general. I think it's good because, obviously you have two people that compete that, are very competitive and they want to do their thing and so forth. There might be some debate where people would say, well, MMA is not really martial arts, it's a sport. Or, it's not for me because, it's not really traditional. And there's some things sometimes that certain fighters will keep pounding the person even when the ref stops it. They don't use self-control. They just keep going until they literally, knock the person for dead. And I get that, but understand at the same time, from every art, there is some bound of tradition. And I think that not every MMA fighter is bad. There might be some that are just very, come from a very traditional background that knows stuff like that. Case in point, Lyoto Machida, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, people like them that come from a traditional martial arts background, but know when to use it, how to use it, when to be aggressive in the octagon or the MMA ring, and so forth. So I give it its respect. You'll catch me, watching, an event or two at my local Buffalo Wild Wings when the big one comes out.
Yep.
So yeah, I do like it. I give it a lot of respect. Is it for me? No, but totes and credit to those that do that. That's you're a better guy than me. You're more confident in that area, and you're more braver than I.
There you go. Nice. All right. Who are some names, and it doesn't have to be 4, but just, 3, 4, 5 names you would put on your personal Mount Rushmore of martial arts?
Like martial arts in general?
Yes. And they can be people you've met, people you trained with. They can be, people like Bruce Lee. It's your personal Mount Rushmore. Who would you put up there? Whether they're just important to you for personal reasons, you just think they've impacted the martial arts world in general. It's your picks.
Oh, God. Wow. I want to preface right now that you have asked a very dangerous question, sir, which that I feel like if I answer it, for those that I know personally that may be listening to this episode, I just want to say I'm sorry if I don't mention your name, and I know that I'm going to have it coming to me. So by that, I love you all. 4 people that I feel like that really had done it in my own personal, Mount Rushmore. One would be the late Grandmaster Kim Hoang, who was my instructor's teacher.
Okay.
A man that came from South Korea from the 60s and, immigrated in the United States in Washington, D.C., who generated a lot of champions. People like, if I go from the timelines, the Mitchell Bobros, the Mike Warrens, the Albert Cheeks, the George Thenos, the list goes on and on. Mm-hmm. Even for form competitors, he created champions like Jimmy Roberts Jr.,
nice,
Mike Wolf, and even I'll put it out here because the fact that he did study under Kim Hoang when he was younger, Rick Fasebosk, individuals like that. He paved the way for a lot of people, made a lot of history, made a lot of champions, quality martial artists in the Washington, D.C. area. Mm-hmm. So he takes the first spot. Nice. The second spot is actually a name that I already mentioned that was a student of Kim Hoang, Mike Warren, who anybody in the martial arts, if you know the name Mike Warren, then you know who I'm talking about. A grand champion in every martial arts tournament that there was in sparring. I mean, chances are if Mike Warren was there, he was going to take it. Mm-hmm. And at the time, competing in Madison Square Garden in New York City for the All-American Open for tournament promoter S. Henry Cho, at the time, he was the only one that won it 4 times differently. And he was, at the time, the man that actually won the most for sparring. People say that how Michael Jordan is to basketball, how jazz, you had like Miles Davis, karate and martial arts, taekwondo had Mike Warren. Like everybody, he actually copped the phrase, I want to be like Mike, not Michael Jordan, but Mike Warren. That's definitely there. Another person, third person on the list that I felt like deserves to be on my Mount Rushmore, I would say Bruce Lee. I really would. Mm-hmm. For a man that came from, Hong Kong, being born in San Francisco and emigrated back to the States, teaching martial arts, the Chinese arts, initially of Wing Chun before he actually did Jeet Kune Do, being a martial arts actor in the States before making it big in Hong Kong. He did it not only just for martial artists, but for Asian people in general, because we didn't have an Asian actor at the time leading the way and being our hero.
Right.
And he was definitely somebody who I felt like he was like the blueprint. He was like in that area. He was that standard. And I got to give a lot of love to Bruce for that, because, he helped even like Asian actors today to try to go out there and make it out there in the industry, because it's hard. It's hard for, Asian actors to even be on the forefront. And, with a person like Bruce Lee that kicked through the door and made it happen, he made us believe that it's possible. It really is possible. I think the last one, I'm going to go ahead and put it out there, but, my best friend, Amos Johnson III.
Okay.
This is the guy that we've known each other for many years. I didn't know that, I didn't know that he was studying karate, let alone over at his father's school, which I didn't know his father ran the school. Like I said, when I came back, he came back. He hadn't been training for about 5 years. His first tournament back, he won the grand championship and became the first man in our school to become grand champion in sparring. Interesting fact, the week before, because it was over in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and the tournament promoter was C.S. Kim, who is a Tang Soo Do guy. My friend, he actually got into a fight on a basketball court, and somehow he fractured his right hand, and he showed his dad. And he was like, oh, well, I guess that means that you're not going to go and compete. And then my friend, he was like, no, I'm going to compete. I'll be there. I didn't say I wasn't. Amos, how you going to go ahead and compete with a fractured right hand? What happens if you need to go ahead and you need to use your right hand? Well, use my left hand. Well, what happens if somebody's going to try to go ahead and hit you? They won't hit me. They won't be coming. I'll be moving in the other direction. You like you taught me. The ring is a chessboard, and I'm going to move around and use my ring generalship. And sure enough, for the first time seeing him compete as an adult, second-degree black belt, every fight that he fought, he didn't get scored on. Nice. The grand championship fight was over against a person from a rival school, from the Ki Wang Kim school, and it went into sudden death. And all I hear at the very end, my grandmaster said, Amos, close the door. Let's get out of here. Next thing you know, when the judge said fight, my friend Amos came in with the Superman punch, like real fast, that all the judges had to go ahead and flag him as the point.
That's cool. Good Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, it's, like you said, it can be fluid and it can change, but I think at this time, and you really had me at this question. It's a very good question. I really had to, throw that down there. It might seem weird because 3 out of the 4 are like from the same martial arts lineage as I am, but I have to give them that credit, especially with 2 of them that was so synonymous in martial arts history. Right. You kind of have to at that point. It's like saying that, you have to say that Michael Jordan was the best, NBA player to ever do it for what he did.
Yep.
At the time it was unheard of. I mean, who ever heard of a basketball player that got 2 sets of three-peats?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's unheard of.
Yeah.
That's like, I'm just like, wow, okay. Now we understand where Tom Brady got that from.
There you go. And I'm a Michael Jordan fan, so I know what you're talking about.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Nice,
sir.
nice.
My only question to you, not to flip the script, which three-peat do you think was better, the first one or the second one?
Man, probably the second one. I think the second.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, just because he had took the time off, he played baseball, and he came back. He's like, well, let's do it again.
Right, for sure.
Just to prove I can.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, cool. So what, in all your years of martial arts, is there one philosophy you've learned that just stands out? It rises to the top. It's super important to you.
There are 2 actually that
Okay.
that stand out. First one, it's cliche, but it can't be further from the truth because it's true, which is never give up.
Mhm.
There are things in life that do get us a little bit easily angry and frustrated because we don't understand something or we don't get it or it just doesn't click right away. Well, I understand that, but just because it doesn't click right away doesn't mean it won't click at all. Things do take time. Rome wasn't built in a day. Consistency is key. And if you are consistent with it, training with it every single day and reviewing it, you'll get it. It just takes time. Never sell yourself short and never give up, because when you give up, that to me, it tells me, and I hate to be dramatic about it in this sense,
Mhm.
it just tells me that it's the beginning of the end. And you don't want to be that person. You
Right.
want to be the person that's willing to face that challenge, to understand the situation, to ask the questions, and to try to solve it. There's not anything in life that, you can't solve if you just take each piece on the table and try to form it one by one so that slowly you get to see what the picture evolves into. Number 2, the most important thing I've also have been taught is that the martial arts is your journey and your journey alone. I don't think nobody else can tell you, what to do or how to do it. You just go through it on your own. Everybody else may tell you and suggest certain things because of what they did in their journey. And that's great. I'm all for it. But understand that, my journey is my journey. And what happens is what's going to happen. As long as if I keep that constant and I keep going, then I'm okay with it. And for me personally, I would like to keep going until the air stops, producing in the body. If I'm still if I go in a wheelchair, I'm going to find a way to train somehow, because there are ways to do it.
Oh yeah.
There are people that do it that I have seen that done it. And I'm like, holy cow, you just taught me that with your impossibility, that it is possible.
Yeah, my instructor actually teaches an adaptive class a couple nights a week, and he's had a few students in wheelchairs get black belt. And I remember when he first started, I remember this, I forget her name, but he had this one student that came in, it was his first student ever with a wheelchair, and he didn't, wasn't sure what to expect. And, he told the kids at one point to get down and do push-ups, and he was going to go over and tell her, don't worry about it. And she jumped out of her wheelchair and got down. He's like, okay, this is going to be fun.
Right, for
just,
sure.
Just as determined as everyone else. She's like, if I can do it, I can do it. So, yeah, it was
For sure.
kind of cool moment to see that.
Right.
All right, I have a few fun ones to wrap it up here.
Yes, sir.
Favorite martial arts book?
Oh, wow. Favorite martial arts book. I can tell you the one that I'm actually reading right now,
Okay.
and that would be S. Henry Cho's Korean Karate, Free Fighting Techniques. And I actually know that book because I'm literally staring at it over at my book collection on my desk.
Nice. I've actually never read that one. I might have to pick that one up. That's I tell people that's the whole reason I added this question to the show, because I didn't used to ask it. Is because I want to add more books to my library. So
Let me tell you something. eBay is definitely the way to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I need to count. I know my martial arts library is probably somewhere between 1 to 200, but I don't know an exact number. I have like 4 or 5 sitting right next to me. I have a couple Junri books sitting right next to me, and
there you go.
Yeah. One of my Francis Pineda I interviewed, and he actually sent me a few of Junri's books after our interview. So
I know Francis Pineda, great guy, love him to death. Mr. Pineda, shout out to you, sir. You're amazing. I just wish that you would be a Baltimore Ravens fan. That's just all.
Nice. All right, now. You're kind of like me. You grew up in the 80s and stuff in the 90s, so I'm hoping you have an answer for this one. A favorite martial arts video game?
Oh, man. I would say the martial arts video game that did it for me was Street Fighter 2.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, the original one with just the 8 characters. You couldn't pick the same character. It had to be like, oh, you picked Ryu? Darn. All right, I'll pick Ken.
God, I haven't played that in so many years. I need to dig that out and play it again.
I actually just bought it recently again for I'm a Nintendo Switch guy. I recently got a Nintendo Switch, and they have I think it was like the 30th anniversary of Street Fighter. So they have like the benchmark, the very first one that started it all. Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 3, Street Fighter 4. I'm just like, man, for $19.99, I sure hit the jackpot with this one.
And I'm not really a gamer anymore. I was when I was younger, but my wife and my son both have a Switch, so maybe I'll have to look into that and dig out some Street Fighter and some Mortal Kombat and some Tekken like I used to play. So,
well, either that for me, or like I'm a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe guy right now. Nice. I love Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, and a fun one actually, Nintendo Switch Sports. I like the bowling aspect of it, and I think that's fun.
Okay.
So I'm just like, hey, free cardio doing bowling.
I'll have to check it out. But I'm also, I just know if I start playing them, I'll just get hooked again, and I just have so little free time.
Yeah. It goes back to like, it's cool that I play video games, but I got to have that physical balance. There's life outside of video games. Let's go ahead and kick the punching bag outside for a little bit, or let's go walking, or let's do something. Let's be physically active.
All right. How about a favorite martial arts TV show?
Oh, man. Are we talking about like live action TV show, or are we talking about a cartoon?
It's up to you. I've had guests pick both. If you want to pick one of each, go ahead.
If we are doing cartoon, the 1980s version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, nice. No one's picked that yet. I like that.
Yes, okay. That was the one that did it for me. If we're talking about live action, this is going to shock a lot of people. Even though I should pick Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, I'm going to pick Kung Fu: The Legend Continues with David Carradine.
The sequel. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
I've talked about that show a lot, but no one's ever picked that one.
Obviously, I was, not old enough at the time when the original Kung Fu came out. So when I heard, it was like, wait a minute, what is this? Oh, this is a continuation, but in a modern sense. I was like, this is fantastic.
Yeah, with Chris Potter. It was such a good show.
Chris Potter, yeah.
Man.
And like one of the very first episodes I caught, Ernie Reyes Jr. From the West Coast Action Team was in the episode. I was like, what? You mean Kino from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2? He's in this thing? Oh, that's my goodness.
So did you ever watch Ernie Reyes Jr. show Sidekicks? You ever find that one?
Yes, I did. I actually did. I remember when it was The Electric Knight.
Yep.
Because that was the benchmark.
That was the movie, yep. And then it spun off.
Yeah. And I remember because Jason Harvey from, what was it? The Wonder Years.
Yep.
Yeah. He was his friend. He was like, so where are you from? Are you from Vietnam or something like that? No, I'm from this place called Patusan. I'm like, wait. And I'm like looking around like, wait a minute, where's that in the map? Because I legit thought that was like a real place.
Yep.
But it was a fantasy place. But yeah, Ernie Reyes Jr., God bless him. He was doing it for like so long with TV and martial arts. And, thank God he's still with us, because the last time I heard he had like an issue with his kidneys.
Yep, yeah,
he had
some
dialysis
health battles. So, but it's funny you mentioned Patusan. He brought that back in Surf Ninjas.
That's right. Yes.
I remember when I first saw it, I'm like, why does that sound familiar?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Oh, you're hitting it right on the button, sir.
But I do have to ask. So you mentioned Kung Fu: The Legend Continues. Right around that same time, did you ever watch the show Street Justice?
I heard of Street Justice.
Okay.
I didn't watch it, although
not a lot of people watched it. It was a good show.
There was a show during that era. It was like 4 shows in a big thing called Action Packed. And there was a show that I used to watch called The Vanishing Sun.
I love that show. So good.
Yeah, with Russell Wong. I was like,
Yep.
oh my gosh, it was amazing. And just to piggyback a little bit, if we're talking about acting, my cousin, who was one of my first instructors at my Taekwondo school that I went to, he actually starred in he was in a show called A Man Called Hawk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now, if you remember the old TV show Spencer for Hire,
Yep.
and you remember the black gentleman
Mm-hmm.
who was also in Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. There was a scene where 4 of my seniors, including my cousin, was in a boxing gym. And you see my cousin like literally just, throwing jabs and bobbing and weaving. I'm like, no way. Like I was like looking at him, I was like, oh, I have a cousin that finally made it in TV. He'll be able to, at the time I was young, I was like, he'll probably get me an Atari 2600 with all the games and 2 controllers. And then,
awesome.
he comes to me, he's like, man, I just made enough to pay for tuition.
Hey, that's cool though. No, I actually tried, no response, but I actually tried to get Russell Wong on the show. So he'd be fun to chat with.
Oh, I think he would. I think it was his tale, like of his acting career, his legendary acting career, and I guess his take on martial arts. I think it'd be awesome. So
Exactly.
Mr. Wong, if you're listening to this, you got to get on this show, sir.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yes.
All right. How about a favorite martial arts movie?
Favorite martial arts movie? I mean, we're going to go back to it. We're going to go The Karate Kid.
Nice.
But if I can pick another one, I would say that it would be Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon.
Nice. 2 great ones.
Yes, sir.
And mine's always Karate Kid because I tell people that's the reason I got into it too.
Right, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. But
Mine was different because we walked out of the movie theater and they were actually a local Tung Soo Do school was handing out free passes outside the movie theater. So
wow,
good marketing in 1984. So
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Nice. All right, final question. Now this
Yes,
one
sir.
doesn't have to be a martial arts movie, but it can be, and it can't be one you were in, but just a favorite movie fight scene.
Favorite movie fight scene.
Mhm.
Okay. What was that one? It was that one movie. I think it was called like Blood and Bones or whatever.
Okay.
And Michael Jai White is actually fighting, Matt Mullins.
Oh.
And it's funny, like you see Matt Mullins, and if anybody knows Matt Mullins, he was very big in the NASCAR circuit. Student of Mike Chatteratabutt, was on Team Paul Mitchell. But anyways, you see him like dressed up in like in a suit or something like that, and the scene starts. It's like, hey, do you want to go ahead and get changed out of your suit and into something more comfortable to fight this guy? And Matt Mullins, I'll never forget. He's like, for what? And then you just see like him and Michael Jai White, fighting, a thin, muscular martial artist that knows a lot about, tricking and stuff like that. And then you have a big, solid muscle, beefy guy like Michael Jai White. And I'm just like, wow, they actually made that pretty good. Like the way that they're hitting each other with different techniques, the different styles and the contrast, styles make fights, and they did a great job making that fight scene.
Great answer. That's another person, Michael Jai White, that I'm hoping to have on the show. So
Awesome.
be cool. Well, before I let you go, anything else that I maybe forgot to ask you, or anything else you want to mention before we wrap it up here?
No, I mean, I just want to give like a couple of shout outs, first and foremost to my teacher, Grandmaster Amos Johnson Jr., for always being there for me throughout the years. You are not only my teacher, you are not only my friend, but you are my father, and I really appreciate all that you have done for me throughout the years. And, I have nothing but love and respect for you, sir. Also to my school that I train at over at Annapolis Martial Arts Center. You guys are amazing individuals, and we're going to go through this journey together. You know what I mean? So when I get back, anybody who needs help, I'm there. I got you. Also, all my other friends out there in the world, like Timothy Apollo, Cameron Whittington from Team Amerikick, my friends over in Kaizen Karate over in Washington, D.C. Appreciate y'all. And just everybody else, like, like people like in the tricking world, like there's Ingun Yu. There's also, we also have Crazy Dragon himself, which is Shim Young Hoon. We also have Mr. He calls himself Dub SB.
Okay.
So, and anybody else, like, again, if I forgot you by name, I'm sorry. There's just too many to name, but just know that I love you guys. Keep training. You know, that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Let's help each other out. Let's motivate each other. Let's keep each other on the right frame of mind. Let's keep each other accountable, and just know that if you need anything, if you need to talk, I'm here for you. I want to see everyone succeed.
Nice. That's great. I love that. Well, it's been such an honor and so much fun having you on the show. Your great life, great experiences, and nothing but continued success. And hopefully can see you doing some more martial arts on the screen soon. And maybe, like I said, my son lives out in that area, so maybe we'll meet in person someday too.
I would love to. And also, quick shout out to real quick, I want to give a quick shout out to a good friend of mine, Ramel Morales, who actually got me on his film, Miscalculated. I appreciate that. I also want to also give a shout out to his wife, April Phelps, who got me in her TV series called Stones. Love you, April. You are a gem. And also a good friend of mine, Sifu, Jimmy D. Nolte. I was in his short called, again, Scrolls of Honor. Sir, much love and respect to you. You are a man among men. Next time that we get out together, the Korean barbecue will be on me.
Nice. Well, seriously, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for your time. I thank you for your stories. It's been so much fun, and I can't wait till the episode comes out.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate this opportunity. And again, guys, you know, we're in this journey together as martial artists, you know, just, you know, let's be more supportive of one another. You know, it's not a fraternity or sorority. So there is no divide, or you don't talk to this person because they're not anybody. Let's really unify each other. Let's really help each other. Let's support one another. And let's really show the world what, you know, true martial arts and martial artists are all about.
Perfect way to end it. Thanks again, sir. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist. We hope you will join us every week for a brand new episode with a different martial artist telling their story. If you enjoy the show, be sure to leave us a review. Also, be sure to check out our website at everydaymartialartist.com. There you can find all of our episodes and contact us to suggest guests and ask questions. Again, thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist, and we'll see you next week.